Good evening and a very warm welcome to all of you here on the news tonight. I'm Tracy Shilshi and in the next 30 minutes I'll be getting you the day's top stories. Let's start first with the headlines. The first batch of 349 Indians rescued by the Indian Navy expected to fly home by midnight. Government says 750 Indians have been evacuated so far. The government unveils the new foreign trade policy, says it will boost exports and create jobs besides supporting the centre's Make in India and Digital India initiatives. The Supreme Court stays the trial court summons to former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, asks the CBI to reply why it did not seek sanction before it was issued. The Andhra Pradesh government has approved Amravati as the new capital city of the state, the new master plan of the city that has been prepared by the Singapore government agencies. International Cricket Council President Mustafa Kamal resigns after controversy over the Cricket World Cup 2015 awards ceremony. Our top story, at least 349 Indians have been rescued by the Indian Navy from the strife-torn Yemen last night. INS Sumitra took the rescued group to the neighbouring territory of Djibouti, which lies across the Red Sea. Indian Air Force's C-17 planes are expected to fly them home soon. So far, the centre has managed to evacuate around 750 Indians among the 4,000 trapped amid the Saudi airstrikes.
Amid bombing and fighting all around the Yemen's port city of Aden, Indian Navy undertook a daredevil rescue act to evacuate around 350 Indians. They were caught in the crossfire amid heavy bombing by Saudi Air Force, targeting Houthi rebels who have taken over the reins in the country. The rescue took place in total darkness on Tuesday night. INS Sumitra took the evacuees, including over 100 women and children, to the town of Djibouti across the Red Sea. The Indian Air Force's C-17 planes will be flying them home.
We have a contingent of Indian diplomats and senior officials headed by the Minister of State, Mr. V.K. Singh, to oversee their return to India from there.
The centre has deployed warships and planes to speed up the evacuation process in Yemen, where close to 4,000 Indians are believed to be trapped. So far, 750 of them have been rescued. Meanwhile, Kerala Chief Minister Oommen Chandy has urged Prime Minister Narendra Modi to step up efforts to rescue stranded nurses in Yemen. He has received calls from the victims complaining about hospital authorities not cooperating with them in their bid to leave the country. On Monday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke to Saudi Arabia's King Salman. He assured the Prime Minister of full assistance to safely evacuate the stranded Indians. Two more naval ships, the INS Mumbai and INS Tarkash, will escort passenger liners Kavarathi and Coral, which are heading for Yemen. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, Saudi-led allies stepped up the offensive in Yemen to overthrow the Houthi rebels. In fact, the latest that we're getting from there is that the attacks are continuing, and what we're also learning is that the airstrike on Yemen's Hodeidah has destroyed a factory, killing 23 workers. Those are the visuals you're seeing. Airstrikes overnight hit Houthi bases along the Saudi border in Yemen's north and army bases in the Central Highlands and the air defense infrastructure in the eastern Marib province as well.
ولسوف تستمر عاصفة الحزم للدفاع عن الشرعية في اليمن حتى تحقق أهدافها بإذن الله تعالى ويعود اليمن.
I will be keeping an eye out on the situation developing there. Meanwhile, back home, the Union government today announced its foreign trade policy for 5 years from 2015 to 2020. Unveiling the policy, Commerce Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said that it will push exports and generate jobs. She also announced measures to promote the use of indigenously produced goods to propel the government's Make in India program.
The new foreign trade policy is intended to back both manufacturing and the service sector while improving ease of doing business in India. Key highlights include online submission of documents to take an import-export code number. While the policy will focus on defence, pharma, environment-friendly products and value-added exports.
The focus of the new policy is to support both the manufacturing and services sectors, with a special emphasis on improving the ease of doing business. Our objective is to provide a stable and sustainable policy environment for foreign trade in both merchandise and services.
The government has swapped all existing focus products and focus market schemes for goods with a single merchandise export from India scheme. Under the scheme, incentives will be given for export of specific goods to specific markets. For services, all schemes have been switched by a services export from India scheme with a greater push on notified services. In a major decision that would give a boost to special economic zones, the government has decided to extend both incentive schemes for exports of goods and services to units in SEZs.
E-commerce exports from employment creating sectors have been supported under the merchandise exports from India scheme. The MEIS will support e-commerce to the extent that when they export goods which come from employment creating sectors, so long as they use couriers or foreign post offices.
The policy announcement comes at a time when India's exports are shrinking. In the last 3 months, exports declined due to a contraction in global demand. So much so that the target of $320 billion for fiscal 2014-15 now seems unattainable. Exports during April to February 2014-15 were $286.58 billion, just 0.88% higher than what was seen in the same period last year. Plunging for the third straight month, exports declined sharply by over 15% to $21.54 billion in February. The new policy is expected to boost merchandise exports as India's outbound shipments in the last 3 years have been hovering at around $300 billion. With Mohammad Fateh Tipu, Kriti Mishra, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, to help us understand the policy even better, we've got Amity Sen, who's the Senior Assistant Editor with the Hindu Business 9, joining us this evening. Thanks so much, Amity, for being here. First of all, just let's talk about some of the key features of the FTP. Give us a sense, really, especially to our viewers, if you could simplify it for us and the key features of it.
The thrust of the policy is very obviously on labor-intensive manufacturing. So if you look at the new scheme that has been announced today to intensify exports, the MEIS, the merchandise export from India scheme, there the highest value of incentives has been accorded to labor intensive exports such as handicrafts, textiles, agriculture, horticulture. So the government has been pushing for employment generation, and they have tried to take care of it through the foreign trade policy as well. And the services sector has also been given quite a bit of attention in this policy because services had this one peculiar problem that the incentive scheme that was given to them in the earlier policy, it was not transferable. So a lot of services exporters who did not import could not benefit from it. So the scripts have been made transferable now, and it would certainly benefit the services sector quite a lot.
All right. The government aiming to nearly double its exports of goods and services to 900 billion by 2020, giving the current scenario of the global economic conditions as well. We are seeing a slowdown in most countries, including China, compared to the past few years. Is this achievable or ambitious?
Well, you see, it is the target is for 2020. So we are just in 2015-16 at the moment. So the situation can change quite a lot by the end of 5 years. And cleverly enough, the government has fixed the 900 billion target for both goods and services together. So we don't have 500 billion for goods and 500 billion for services. So like if the services sector does exceptionally well, and if it surpasses the expectations, then it might it might just substitute for a lower performance in goods. So 900 billion is ambitious, but I think that is what the government is aiming for.
All right. You, of course, mentioned the Make in India initiative in your previous answer, but just in detail, the Make in India initiative, Digital India initiative, that being, pushed forward as well. What's the kind of reaction that we're getting globally on, especially PM Modi's, you can actually call it his initiatives. What's the kind of reaction that we're getting globally on this?
Initially, Make in India, the term, the 3 words, Make in India, it evoked a kind of cautious response from other countries, because people saw it as the government's intention to put in measures to maybe stop imports, to replace imports with indigenous production. But lately the government has been clarifying, it has been saying that the idea is not to stop imports coming into the country, but to promote domestic production in a way that the country forms part of the global value chain. So even today the minister talked about increasing imports that are used as intermediaries in the country. So she said that the country, even the units that sectors that might be affected by somewhat more imports of intermediates, they too should brace up and prepare for something like this in the future.
All right. Very quickly, of course, the fact that most of the policies, especially the previous one, you had an annual, what do you call it, looking at it annually, yes. But this time the time frame has been changed a bit. Is there any particular reason for that?
Yes, well, in our interaction with the minister today, we did ask her, the idea behind this midterm review and moving away from the annual review. So basically, the government seems to think that there is a need for, continuity in policies. So, instead of every year the exporters holding their breath and thinking, what is in store for us, it would be good for them to, have this comfort that whatever has been spelled out today would continue over the next 5 years. And in case there is a need for, mid-course correction, there is chances for it in, next 2.5 years.
All right. Anything other than, what we've discussed, Amity, that you can also shed some light upon? Especially the MEIS and the SEIs, especially me, it's getting quite a bit confusing. Was it necessary to categorize them in this manner?
Well, actually, the intention of the government is basically to, uncomplicate things. Because if you look at the goods sector, we had the focused product scheme, we had the focused market scheme, we had the market-linked focused product scheme. So, if you look at the foreign trade policy as it was till yesterday, like there would be like n number of product categories and market categories and all kinds of incentives. So the idea behind coming up with one scheme is to maybe just demystify things. And well, basically it is not even one. There are 3 rates. There's a 2% rate, there's a 3% rate, and the 5% rate of rebate. But it's basically making things more compact.
All right. All right. We leave it there for now. Thanks so much, Amity, for joining us, giving us a perspective really into the foreign trade policy, the key points that we can look forward to. Thanks so much for joining us in studio and giving us, more details on that. Meanwhile, let's get you some more news. And India's state-run oil marketing firm has cut the retail prices for petrol and diesel, citing lower global oil prices. The retail price of petrol now being cut by 49 paise per litre and diesel by ₹1.21 per litre. With this change, the price of diesel in Delhi will become 48 rupees 50 paise per litre, while petrol will cost 60 rupees per litre. The reduction in rates will be effective from midnight tonight. The oil marketing companies have already increased the retail prices for the fuel twice in February. The price of petrol has been reduced, though, 10 times since August 2014, while that of diesel was cut 6 times since October 2014. All right, that's of course what we are seeing on the financial point, but on to more national news. And the Andhra Pradesh government, in fact, approving now Amravati as the new capital city of the state. That is what we are learning at this point. Also approving the first phase of the new master plan of the city that has been prepared by the Singapore government agencies. The Singapore government, in fact, is expected to upload the new master plan on its website soon, when we'll get to know more of the modalities of how and when we'll be actually seeing this going into official full force. The cabinet also approved the new industrial policy in an attempt to accelerate the industrialization of the state. Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu also gave details about the developments.
The correct అని పిచ్చే విధంగా ఉంది, అందుకని ఈ రోజు పేరు పెట్టాం. పౌరాణికంగా చూస్తే ఇంద్రుడు పరిపాలించిన నగరం అమరావతి. చరిత్రలో ఒక ఉన్నటువంటి నగరంతో మళ్ళా అసోసియేట్ అయితే బాగుంటుందని ఒకటి. రెండోది ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్ అమరావతి, అది కూడా కృష్ణానది ఒడ్డున. అది కూడా ఎప్పుడో కాటన్ అయితే బ్యారేజ్ కట్టింది 1850లో కట్టాడు. ఇవన్నీ చరిత్రలు అక్కడ.
All right, we had a quick break here, but still ahead, BJP Minister Giriraj Singh has sparked controversy again over his controversial remarks on Congress President Sonia Gandhi. We'll get you details of that on the other side.
an age-old higher education regulator. Tagged as ineffective, recommended to be wound up. Should the UGC be scrapped? Watch the big picture at 9:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back to the news tonight. Let's get you more national news. And former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh will not have to appear in a Delhi court on the 8th of April. The Supreme Court today stayed the summons issued to him by a CBI court in the coal block allocation scam. The stay also applies to Hindalco Chairman Kumar Mangalam Birla and former Coal Secretary PC Parekh.
The Supreme Court has stayed summons issued against former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh and 5 others in a coal block allocation case. Singh was told to make a personal appearance before the court for the illegal allotment of the Talabira 2 coal block in Odisha to the Aditya Birla Group company Hindalco in the year 2005. Singh held direct charge of the coal ministry back then.
The Honorable Supreme Court, after hearing arguments advanced on behalf of Dr. Manmohan Singh and others, came to the conclusion that since important and substantial questions of law and the processes of criminal trial were involved to be decided, they would like to decide those issues, and in the meantime they have ordered stay of the proceedings before the trial court and the stay of the summoning order.
Appearing for the former Prime Minister, senior advocate Kapil Sibal argued that there was no criminal intention in the allocation as it was an administrative decision. The defence also questioned the legality of the summons, citing lack of sanction as required under the CRPC. The Supreme Court has sought reply from the CBI within 3 weeks.
The cognizance had been taken of offences under the IPC without there being any sanction for prosecution under section 197 of CRPC, and also the fact that which was most disturbing is that not a word is said as to why sanction under 197 has not been taken.
Congress leaders welcomed the ruling while the government called it part of the legal procedure.
It's a right move. I think there should be an inquiry on why this government, present BJP government, is so ferocious and atrocious in trying to book the former Prime Minister, who is a very straightforward person.
It's part of a legal process. The larger issue for the country is, this again emphasizes or brings to the fore the fact that Congress did messed up in coal block allocation.
Manmohan Singh had sought quashing of the summons on the 11th of March on grounds that the order was passed without application of mine and was bad in law. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, opposition parties have strongly condemned remarks made by Union Minister of State Giriraj Singh. He sparked a controversy today while speaking to newspersons in Bihar's Hajipur district, taking place in fact yesterday. In remarks targeted at Congress President Sonia Gandhi, he questioned if the Congress would have accepted her leadership if she wasn't white-skinned. He later expressed regret for his remarks. The Congress said that it strongly condemned what it called intemperate remarks.
गंदा बात है ये सब, इस तरह की बात लोग बोलता, आप पलट के बोल दे कोई लोगों के माँ बहनों को, कोई पलट के बोल दे इनके पार्टी में जो लोग हैं, कैसा लगा? इसे डर्टी पॉलिटिक्स, गंदी बात है।
गिरिराज सिंह जो बिहार से मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट हैं और इस वक्त राज्य मंत्री हैं, दरअसल वो बहुत ही ऊटपटांग बातें बोलते हैं और बाकी में उनको तवज्जो नहीं देना था।
I strongly condemn the derogatory remarks used by a union minister against Srimati Sonia Gandhi. It is not just derogatory to Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, but to all women of this country. I think it has become a habit with BJP ministers to make these kind of outlandish remarks. We seek an apology from the Prime Minister, and I think Giriraj Singh has been used to making these kind of statements.
Away from controversy though, fresh rainfall reignited fear of floods in the Kashmir Valley today, although the water levels in the Jhelum River are reported to have receded. The flood situation was starting to get better since yesterday with no fresh rains in the valley, but a fresh spell of rainfall since last night brought back fear of floods. The Met Department also predicted more rainfall over the next 2 days that could cause a surge in the water level of the Jhelum and its tributaries. Rescue teams have been put on standby though, and the J&K Assembly witnessed violence over the ongoing flood relief operations in the valley. Opposition parties accused the government of providing very little relief to those affected. MLAs of the National Conference and the Congress in fact raised slogans against the government, and they were later marshalled out of the house.
हम कतई नहीं चाहते आप जम्मू में मत दो, हम ये चाहते हैं जिस जगह जो ज्यादा जरूरत है आप उस जगह उसी हिसाब से कीजिए। तो इसीलिए हमने आज एहतजाज किया। मैं आपसे सिर्फ एक गुजारिश करना चाहता हूं, अगर हम इस हाउस में भी अपनी आवाज न उठाएं तो फिर कहां जाए।
हम नहीं कहते हैं जम्मू को क्यों दिया, कश्मीर को क्यों नहीं दिया। हम ये कह रहे हैं 3.5 करोड़ रुपया अगर छोड़ा, ये कहां का इंसाफ है कि 2.5 करोड़ रुपया ट्रांसफार्मर के लिए आप जम्मू के लिए छोड़ रहे हैं और 1 करोड़ रुपया उन लोगों के लिए जो सैलाब ज़दा इलाके हैं जहां पर तबाही हुई है।
And with that, let's get you more news from across the country in nationwide. The Enforcement Directorate attached the assets of the Maran brothers today in connection with the Aircel Maxis case. The ED attached assets worth 742 crore rupees in the name of former Telecom Minister Dayanidhi Maran and his brother Kalanidhi Maran. The CBI had alleged that Dayanidhi had forced a Chennai-based telecom promoter to sell his stakes in Aircel and 2 subsidiary firms to the Malaysian firm Maxis Group in 2006. Rajasthan today banned camel slaughter as the Assembly passed the Rajasthan Camel Prohibition, Slaughter and Regulation of Temporary Migration or the Export Bill. The bill also sets a 5-year jail term and a fine for slaughtering or injuring the animal. Last year, Rajasthan designated the camel as a state animal, hoping to curb the growing illegal trade of camels and camel meat. Kerala police today began enforcing a liquor ban on the state. The move comes after a court upheld the Kerala government's decision to ban sale of liquor except in premium hotels. Last year, Kerala Chief Minister Umen Chandi said that the state government was in favour of total prohibition from April. A man was arrested for shooting an 18-year-old girl dead at a school last night in Bengaluru. The incident took place when an office attendant barged into the hostel in the school premises and opened fire at the 2 girls. One of the 2 succumbed to her injuries while the other is out of danger. International news now. Negotiations between the P5+1 countries and Iran resumed in Lausanne today, a day after the 31st March deadline expired for a nuclear deal. This came after talks were carried into Wednesday in the hope that a stalemate could be broken on difficult issues. Earlier, blowing through a self-imposed deadline, negotiators from Iran, the US and 5 allied powers labored into the night trying to hammer out an outline towards a final deal to curb Iran's nuclear programs. The UK said that the key issues still need to be tackled at talks on Iran's nuclear program, but agreed with Iranian and Russian delegates that there was a broad framework of understanding. A deal would curb the nuclear program in return for sanctions relief.
Non, notre attitude n'a pas changé depuis le début et ça a été la même d'ailleurs lorsque j'ai négocié il y a déjà plusieurs mois, parce que c'est une négociation qui remonte à longtemps. Nous sommes ferme, nous voulons un accord robuste.
这次外长会上，我也与各方分享了关于解决那么焦点和分歧的一些中方的思路。我们相信会对今后的全面协议的达成发挥积极的作用。
With that, let's get you more international news in Global Buzz. The United States will resume suspended military aid to Egypt. US President Barack Obama said that F-16 fighter jets, missiles and M1A1 tank kits would be delivered to Egypt. The aid was put on hold in the wake of a military coup in 2013. Egypt is part of an Arab offensive against Houthi rebels in Yemen and also fighting the Islamic State in Libya. A video has been found purportedly showing the chaotic final seconds on board the Germanwings flight that crashed in the French Alps last week. The German and French media have reported the video was found on a mobile phone belonging to one of the passengers killed. The video was shot when German pilot Andreas Lubitz deliberately flew the plane into a mountain. The investigators into the crash have called for the footage of the disaster to be handed over to authorities. Rescue operations continue even as the death toll in northern Chile floods has risen to 23, with 49 people missing. At least 27,000 people have been rendered homeless. Rivers have burst their banks, flooding towns, making roads impassable. Sports now. In International Cricket Council, President Mustafa Kemal has resigned from his post today. The decision came after he accused the ICC of acting unlawfully. Kemal was upset that he was not allowed to present the World Cup trophy to champions Australia last Sunday instead of N. Srinivasan. Announcing his decision today, Kemal accused the ICC of constitutional violation. He was reportedly denied the honours after he blamed poor umpiring for Bangladesh's loss to India in the quarterfinals. He had accused the global body of bias towards India, terming it the Indian Cricket Council. ICC was forced to issue a statement to reject his charges. And now let's get you the other sports news and updates in Sports Beat. Indian shuttler Saina Nehwal and Srikanth reached the second round of the Malaysian Open in Kuala Lumpur today. World number 1 Saina beat Indonesia's Maria Febe Kusumastuti 21-13, 21-16 in the women's singles. She will next take on the Chinese qualifier in the next round. World number 4 Srikanth meanwhile defeated England's Rajiv Youssef in the score of 10-21, 21-15, 22-24 in the men's singles. He will clash with world number 16 Tian Hou-wei of China tomorrow. Indian tennis player Saina Mirza and her Swiss partner Martina Hingis have entered the women's doubles semi-final of the Miami Open. The top-seeded Indo-Swiss duo served past the Radionova sisters Anastasia and Arina 6-4, 6-3, 6-4 in the quarterfinal encounter. Defending champion Novak Djokovic reached the quarterfinals of the Miami Open. He defeated Alexander Dolgopolov 7-6, 7-5, 6-love in the fourth round. Britain's Andy Murray also won his 500th match of his career to reach the last 8. Murray defeated Kevin Anderson 6-4, 3-6, 6-3 to advance to the quarterfinals. Argentina beat Ecuador 2-1 to notch a second straight Copa America warm-up victory in New Jersey. Sergio Aguirre and Javier Pastor scored in each half to register the win. However, Lionel Messi did not play the match due to injury to his right foot. This is Argentina's second win since beating Germany in a friendly last September. And that's all we could back in this evening on the News Tonight. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.